everywhere you will have seen people saying, Trump addressed the biggest rally in history. Then you'll have seen people on CNN and MSNBC saying, there wasn't that many people there. Actually, there was only about 50 people in that crowd. They duplicated those people. Those people were clones. The real message, of course, is not the number of people in the crowd or whether or not Donald Trump exaggerates sometimes. It's the significance of the optics and it's the significance of the message. You will note that as this election campaign gears up, there is a clear unwillingness on behalf of the incumbent administration to address the issues that matter. And let me take a shot at what some of those issues might be. Infrastructure within your nation, support and education, available information, lack of censorship, end to all war, an unwillingness to send Americans and American money into foreign endeavors, national security and sovereignty, particularly when it comes to the border. Whether or not you agree with those issues, those appear to be the issues that matter to the majority of the people. And as we've indicated endlessly, surely the role of government is service, unless we're being lied to on some extraordinary scale. So let's look at the difference in the optics between the Trump campaign and the Biden campaign. And let's look at the continual theme and ongoing ability of the Dems to mobilize an extraordinary idea. We care. We care about vulnerable groups and vulnerable communities. We're here to protect you. Are you in some sort of vulnerable group? Is there a way we can protect you and help you? Would it help you if we censored you? Would it help you if we went to some kind of crazy war in some unseen, far-flung land for you, funded by you, spending your money while you're working, you're paying for these wars? And if it seemed like we were profiting somehow from any of this, why? Wouldn't that undermine our central premise? The idea that we're doing all of this for you because we care, whether you're a governor of New York or the arch nemesis herself, the dark figure that is Hillary Clinton. What is it that the Democrats care about really? And what is the message that they cannot address clearly? Let's get into it. First of all, of course, let's have a look at the conversation around the people attending the Jersey Shore. Some people saying 100,000 people were present. Let's have a look at some coverage of that story in this instant. I'm not sure what a legacy media outlet is. Let's have a look.
You know, you can't even see the back. There's so many people here. There's so many people here. Man, over 100,000 people. If this was supposed to be, you know, they thought they'd hit 40. So they more than doubled it. But you can't even see the end. I wish we didn't have the press here. I wish we moved them the hell back so they'd have, because they can't see in the back.
That was one of the first things that Trump did in his campaign to become president the first time. He identified that the majority of people no longer trust legacy media, that we see the legacy media as our enemy, an opponent. Now, these institutions still think that they're doing valiant work. They think of themselves as the inheritors of the mantle of civil rights that began in your great nation in the 1960s. Heroic figures like Martin Luther King, great men like Malcolm X or JFK. There are good number of heroes in your country during that period. And what's the thing that happened to all of them? They were all killed, dead, potentially by their own government. Certainly there seems to be mounting evidence that that's the way that they went down. Curiously, though, the legacy media that have always had strong ties to the deep state and the establishment, even as they've become more and more professional, not drawn from the gumshoe, blue-collar, working class, Roseanne would have it, communities from which they were earlier drawn, increasingly becoming university-educated, you might say somewhat supercilious, loathing of the ordinary people. Certainly there seems to be a contempt. I mean, I don't know. Do you sense it? Do you sense, if you look at the New York Times or you listen to them legacy outlets, do you sense that they have a kind of disdain or dislike for ordinary people? Do you think that they're looking for ways and labels and means to condemn ordinary people? Well, it's okay to hate them. I mean, they're in a basket of deplorability.
Basket of deplorables.
They're racist. They're disgusting. They don't wash. They don't care for the environment. Don't they care about climate change? Lock them in their homes. Lock them in their homes. Please, somebody somewhere, won't you find a reason to lock them in their homes? We're working on a number of reasons to lock them in their homes right now. It could be a health crisis because public health has always been a protected area that allows us to bypass the Constitution. So whenever we're looking to bypass people's freedoms, we'll always look to public health first and foremost. But let's not forget climate change too. That might afford us some fantastic opportunities to lock people in their homes. Let's not focus on environmental schemes and measures that might somehow penalize some of the most powerful energy companies or military companies in the world, or might prohibit the actions of the elites. No, climate change has to be solved by locking ordinary people in their homes. It's funny how the solution is always an impediment to ordinary people and never an impediment to the powerful. It's just a curious solution they always come up with.
I got indicted 4 times in a period of about 3 seconds. If my plane flies over a blue state, the following day I get subpoenaed to go before a grand jury, okay?
Okay.
There would have been no war in Gaza with me in the White House. There would not have even been a chance. You know, Iran was broke when I was president. I said, if you buy oil, anybody buys oil from Iran, they can't do business with the United States. They were totally broke. Now they have $250 billion. They made it all in 3.5 years. When I was president, we had peace in the Middle East like never before, and I got the Abraham Accords done when nobody thought it was possible. When I'm president, we will not allow our colleges to be taken over by violent radicals. And if you come here from another country and try to bring jihadism or anti-Americanism or anti-Semitism to our campuses, we will immediately deport you. You'll be out of that school.
So it seems that the main thrust of that speech is ordinary and expected America first rhetoric, a willingness to shut down on insurgent groups, some other populist ideas. Now, whether or not you agree with the policies of Donald Trump, and I know that a great many of you do, you would have to say that the rhetoric deployed there is an attempt to galvanize and address issues that Americans care about today. What's happening on the other side of the aisle? Remember, the side that see themselves as the goodies, the people that if you don't vote for them, you're voting for despotism, you're voting for war, you're voting for meltdown. Even though in the last 4 years it seems like war has escalated and authoritarianism has escalated and censorship has escalated. It seems that just because they are able to apply a varnish and veneer of cultural care and protection to their bureaucratic tyranny, they expect you to be duped and fooled by that.
Hey, this is exciting. We've got a great partner today. It's Rumble. But beyond Rumble, it's Rumble's latest venture. Let me ask you first, are you a Sleepy Joe type character with zero cognitive performance, struggling to muster focus and brain power for basic things like running the United States of America? You've got to stop drinking woke liberal coffee that hates you and your way of life and start your day by drinking Rumble's very own 1775 coffee. This is going to be the best tasting coffee you've ever had. Seriously good, ethically sourced from a family farm in the high altitude mountains of Bolivia. Not in the Bolivian lowlands run not by a family but by a single man still living with a pet. No! Instead of waking up and drinking your big corporation owned woke ideology coffee that's probably making you sick from the pesticides it's sprayed with, try Rumble's 1775 revolutionary coffee. Support freedom of speech. Build a parallel economy that actually values you and loves you. My favourite? It's dark, of course. I've always found the lure of the dark irresistible. I'm sorry, how can I stay mad at you? You're just going to have to wait over there for a little while. Level up your morning routine with a 1775 coffee. Sleep all night knowing your hard-earned dollary dues are going towards supporting freedom-loving creators like me on Rumble. Visit 1775coffee.com now, pick up your first bag, use the code BRAND to save 10% on your first order. Oh, come on. Why choose, Okay, back to the content.
Perhaps it could be argued at this point that if you care about freedom, you can't afford to vote for Joe Biden. And increasingly, it seems that even Democrat voters believe that because of the various military misadventures around the world right now. And what's their answer to that? Is it to address it? Is it to comfort you? Is it to tell you we're going to work on infrastructure? We're going to work on a better and safer America. We're going to end these wars. We're going to use America's might to bring about peace. No, it's what about George Clooney? Now, hold on. I hear what you're saying, but how about Barack Obama? We already had Barack Obama. That's the son of a bitch that bailed out the banks. That's the son of a bitch that bombed Syria. Yeah, but come on. He's got shows on Netflix now. and we got George Clooney. Now, remember, I've been part of the Hollywood establishment myself. I'm certainly not claiming to the degree of George Clooney, who's made many, many, many successful movies. But what I'm saying is I've seen from the inside how this system works, how it glamorizes, how it captures, how easy it is to believe that you're doing something good by turning up at some fundraiser somewhere, if what people are talking about is helping people and the vulnerable and help Haiti. And then you look into this stuff and you find out, oh my God, the Clinton Foundation aren't helping Haiti at all. They're making Haiti much worse. In fact, Haiti hates Clinton more than they hate earthquakes. And there's got to be a reason for that. So the Biden campaign's enlisting a number of the usual suspects to endorse their campaign, a campaign that would seem to be in trouble. And it's now reached such a pitch that even CNN, the cathedrals of the establishment, where their sole duty is to shut down dissent, where any thought leader or emergent figure that opposes them, they'll find some way, they'll work for years if they have to find a way to shut down those voices. Even they have got their doubts. Even they are starting to question the efficacy of the model. They are unable to address the issues because to address the issues will be to dismantle the system itself. Here on CNN, they are talking about this fundraiser, but what they don't talk about are the issues that affect ordinary people. I want you to watch what they're doing here. Notice how they don't address economic issues, issues of the border, issues of war. What they talk about is fundraisers and billionaires and famous people. Like, is that going to be the solution? I mean, isn't that actually the problem?
This campaign that is ramping up, and of course the question is, where does this go on the trail? How do we see it play out on the trail? You actually have some new reporting, not necessarily as it relates to the war in the Middle East, but as it relates to how the Biden campaign is trying to really intensify and galvanize its supporters against the backdrop of some of this diminishing support.
And that is the reminder here that we are just months away from this critical election, and the Biden campaign is trying to wage that fight while dealing with this very serious challenge overseas. But in terms of that fundraising, for a long time, the Democrats, the DNC have had the cash advantage. That's about to look very different for Republicans with former President Trump and the RNC. Now that he has clinched the nomination, they can fundraise differently. So that's why you're going to see the Biden team try to boost some of those fundraising efforts with some star power. They're going to be doing a big fundraiser with George Clooney, Julia Roberts, former President Obama in mid-June in Los Angeles. And there's also going to be a fundraiser with former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton early this summer.
A lot of people are concerned. They're concerned about all these foreign wars that are being funded by their taxpayer dollars. So in order to address that critical problem, we're going to line up the warmongers of yesteryear, ladies and gentlemen. Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, the engineers and architects that lost us the ability to reach ordinary Americans, the very people that sanctioned and signed off the misadventures around the world, the establishment of an undeniable hegemony. Doesn't it seem odd to you that here on this legacy media propagandist outlet, they're unable to say, the Biden administration have observed that the wars they're engaged in are unpopular and therefore they are going to make pledges to no longer engage in these wars? Why is that question not being asked? Why is that question not being answered? For a moment, reflect. If you wanted to win an election, wouldn't you say, hold on a minute, 70% of Democrat voters are in particular concerned about events in the Middle East? Wouldn't you say then that if you were there in order to serve the people, or even if you wanted to be divisive and polarizing, your own party supporters are against that particular aspect of American foreign policy? And my position is war and violence and a country in service of endless war and endless pharmaceutical trade and endless oppression of its own people, the American people, and endless imperial adventures around the world. That's an agenda that needs to be addressed and opposed. Why can't they address it and oppose it? How can they say, you're concerned about America? America is falling apart? How about George Clooney? Will that do? I like George Clooney. I mean, he was good in ER, but I don't know how that's going to make schools any better or the decay of American life any better. Okay, I hear you. Julia, get Julia Roberts. Huh? Now, this is not an attack on Julia Roberts or George Clooney, who are human beings just like you and me, in no meaningful way any different from any of us, of course. But in this instance, what is the Biden administration telling you? That you should be dazzled? by powerful and glamorous figures, that we've found yet again another revolving door, that presidents walk out of office and into Netflix and convey their documentaries and messages in the same beautifully rendered style that Barack Obama delivered most of his speeches, while simultaneously failing to protect American people from the financial disaster in 2008. In fact, doing the opposite, protecting globalist financial interests, while many, many Americans, and perhaps America herself, has not recovered from the catastrophe of 2008. The fact is that there is power in government that is for the people, rather than government that is for some kind of peculiar globalist agenda that's, well, it's becoming increasingly obvious what it is.
They see a direct line from huge hauls from events like that to being able to build infrastructure, open offices, hire key staff, run ads in those critical battleground states where, yes, some of those young voters who are so disillusioned with what they're seeing right now with the president's handling of the war could be critical, and it could make all the difference.
This is politics as sport. And if you want to frame politics as sport, if you want to frame politics as a kind of gladiatorial endeavor, a kind of entertainment product, then good luck against the guy who can do this.
Everything they touch turns to what?
Now, of course, on the establishment neoliberal legacy media amplifying machine, they'll use this as further evidence of moral decay and moral decline. Why, look at those Americans in their red caps with their big beards and their working jobs. They'll look contemptuously at them from their skyscrapers. They'll look down at them from their jobs where they do very little in front of their laptops, sneeringly and contemptuously, vilifying and criminalizing ordinary people at every opportunity. But the ability of a political orator to engage in that kind of discourse with a crowd and be actually funny, you're in some serious, serious trouble. I don't know enough about American politics to know whether or not Donald Trump is going to be the solution that your country is looking for. But I do know this: the establishment hates him. So that's some information right there. They're using the judiciary, they're using the media, they're using everything at their disposal. My questions come in this form. Didn't he support that $95 billion bill to perpetuate various military adventures around the world? That would be something I'd want to know why that was happening. I would have some questions, but my enemies do not want Donald Trump in the White House, and hey, sometimes that's enough. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.